harpoon.
Especially after a grueling afternoon of deep power squat.
And it also allowed him to express some anger.
You're getting ready to serve up some of this spiny sea urchin. You're high on MSG. Somebody says, look, there's Chairman Mao showing everybody his denting route. You go to salute him. Next thing you know, you look like Jacques Cousteau in a trauma unit.
Which I think you see in the Fire Marshal Bill things, and you particularly see it in the amazing dysfunctional home show. That is just fantastic material.
Once the family gets a taste of that, they're gonna... they're gonna...
Now Jim was ready for a huge leap forward.
He knew he wanted to be a movie star.
On his way to cashing the $10 million check. In Hollywood, it's important to know that show business is two words, show and business. Jim Carrey's 18-month rise to the highest paid actor in the world is a case study in the art of the deal.
When Jim was making nothing, he thought he was worth $20 million.
Meet Team Carrey. Eric Gold is the manager. Nick Stevens is the agent.
We were ready, and we were passionate that he could become, after Eddie and Steve Martin and Robin, the next guy.
We felt that Bill Murray, with his sort of attitude and who he was a good template as well, and we wanted to find all the scripts that were left over. The joke was it still had, like, stains on it from somebody's lunch, because it was like everybody had read it.
For $350,000, Jim Carrey's performance in Ace Ventura would ignite a frenzy of wheeling and dealing.
We liked Ace Ventura. We worked cheap in the picture. You know, the feeling is that once you start to win, then you can change the equation. The mask also was done before Ace Ventura came out. He worked for $450,000 on the mask. Both those pictures hit, one bigger than the next, and then Dumb and Dumber came down the pike.
All right, I'm going to give him a rough idea of the film. You got two characters, Dumb and Dumber, right? One of them is a limo driver. He has a love interest. He finds out she's going to Aspen, follows her there. Actually follows her to Aspen. And as you can see, it's a very funny premise.
Two dumb guys. Get together. Go on a trip.
Well, we were ready to make a deal, you know, from the 450 that was not as significant as it turned out to be on Dumb and Dumber before Ace came out. And the studio played their cards, and we played ours.
Two things we knew. We knew that we liked the movie, and we knew that some of the key moments in that movie took place in snow, and they were running out of time.
We were begging him, give him the money, you know, it's gonna be worth it.
And we knew that that snow was a gun to their head, because if they didn't shoot it soon, they couldn't shoot it for a year.
For a while they thought about changing it to a summer. He goes out there to Aspen in the summer. It wouldn't have been as fun, but, you know, that was our, that's what we were thinking of.
They come back to us after Ace Ventura opens at $12.5 million, and now he's a movie star.
Yeah, I remember being in an office down the hall here, and when we were into the 2s and 3s and 4 million, that's when the ride got interesting.
We just kept saying no to the deal, and it was 1, and it turned into 2, that turned into 4, that turned into 5, that turned into 6. And honestly, Jim was a little nervous, because Jim was a guy who lived in a Volkswagen van with his family at one point, and, you know, at times he would say, you sure we shouldn't just say yes to $5 million? When we got to $7 million, the head of the studio of production, Mike DeLuca, said to us, you know what, you can probably get a little bit more, but if you go beyond this, you're going to really be having such ill will towards him that it just won't be worth it. And I'd rather just take it at 7 or don't do it, because it won't be good.
The tide had turned. Now, the offers poured in.
Veterans of the business call us and say, we would like Jim Carrey to be the Riddler.
We knew he'd kill as the Riddler.
But more important than all of this was a deal that was being hatched even as Jim was shooting Batman.
It was an intense negotiation. They came with their best and last offer, which would have been the most ever paid for a comedian. And we passed. Go ahead. You can say it. You're a DJ. We passed the day before Batman premiered.
What did you pass at? What was the offer then?
$17.5 million.
Ultimately, Team Carrey would sign to do this new project at a record fee, $20 million. Hollywood history. But would Jim Carrey play it safe?
Let's see that in an instant replay.
With millions of kids addicted to his slapstick characters, he was suddenly going to be someone completely different.
Doing the Cable Guy wasn't much different than what he did by bailing on his impressionist act. He had this very solid, career, and then he says to everyone, I want to go farther, I want to be more creative, I want to take more chances, I want to challenge you, so check this out.
Let me help you wash up. Cleanliness is next to godliness.
In Cable Guy, Jim was Mr. Nasty.
You're on a big date.
And his message to the kids who loved him was a dark rebuke. TV addiction is no joke. In dollar terms, Team Carrey had shown amazing consistency. 6 straight movies, each grossing more than $100 million. Oddly, the man known for talking out of his ass had shown excellent judgment.
The most important thing that I think people overlook is it's about taste. Jim Carrey he made good choices. He hasn't made a bad movie, since Ace Ventura. He's made, different kinds of movies, but he has not made a bad movie.
Jim's latest choice, Man on the Moon, was yet another gamble, and one that brought his box office streak to an end. The Carrey name guaranteed sold-out openings, but moviegoers didn't like Andy Kaufman, and the film didn't do well. While Jim's performance was rewarded with a Golden Globe,
Jim Carrey,
the silver medal of Hollywood Awards, the Academy was not impressed. His fellow actors are still not convinced that Jim Carrey is the real deal. For the second year in a row, he was denied an Oscar nomination for Best Actor.
So what do you desire now? Love.
But beyond the hit movies, something else is missing.
Well, I guess we're going to have ourselves a nuclear holocaust.
Now, after 2 marriages, the $20 million man is a bachelor again. In December of '99, Jim spent a weekend in Los Angeles promoting Man on the Moon to the North American press. Half the arriving journalists thought Jim was involved with co-star Courtney Love. By Monday, there was no question that Jim was actually romancing his next co-star, Renee Zellweger. This may be the perfect way to promote an upcoming film, but is it the most effective way to live your personal life?
Everything's cool for 6 months, you're on the set, everybody's doing everything for you, and then when you get home, there's real life. And then it's like, well, who's, like you left the toilet seat up. Well, I don't need this. Give me another movie, all right. Who's in it? Selma Hayek? Well, all right. You know what I mean?
His second marriage to Dumb and Dumber co-star Lauren Hawley found them both paraded around Hollywood. The union was hot, fast, and photogenic. His first marriage to Melissa Womer ended as Jim's movie career took off.
It has been tough, and it's been a long journey and a painful one, because, you know, I don't like to hurt anybody, you know, but there's been, you know, I mean, I'm the guy who's been married twice. I never wanted to be that guy, you know, that sucks, you know, it sucks when you go out with someone and you have to, like, eventually get to, like, yeah, twice I didn't marry, you know, and you have to be that guy. It's a horrible thing, but it's a learning process, and I've learned that I can't fix my mom anymore.
Both wives settled with Team Carrey, but the divorces are a flaw in the grand plan. I did an interview with him where I asked him what he still desired. What do you think he said?
Love.
Carrey's biographer offers one explanation for the marital difficulties.
There's a level of obsession and desperation to Jim's life, which I think comes out of the experiences that he had as a child. And I think that would make somebody extremely hard to live with. And I think he's very aware of that.
Jim Carrey is the man in the middle of the star-making machine. He's had to develop a very strong sense of what belongs to the world and what belongs to him.
I've gotten really good at kind of judging what's fair to ask me for and what's not, and that I can't be attached to a result. If they go away and they feel like they didn't get enough from me, then I can't worry about it. You know, there's too many people in the world, and it's like, you know, I'm nice to people. I like people. You know, I like saying hi to people, and I like that they like me. It's great, but don't ask me for the tag off my underwear, because you're not getting it.
Within Jim's tightly controlled life, Team Carrey is working on next year's projects. The idea is to build a star for the ages.
You can be of your generation, or you can transcend any generation. And I think what Jim's looking for is to have a career that will transcend any one generation.
The next time he opens up the circus in his head, who will come out?
Seems like no matter what happens, no matter how bad things get, Jimmy Stewart can look at it in a positive way. Well, I guess we're going to have ourselves a nuclear holocaust. Well, everybody come over to the window. Look at that mushroom cloud. Isn't that beautiful? And last but not least, James Dean.
As a boy, Jim Carrey escaped the reality of his life by inhabiting the 100 faces he soaked up from television and the movies. Those characters brought him to this dizzying level of fame. But what does the great reinventor have left?
I think Jim Carrey is going to be around for an awfully long time, not only because I think he has a great talent, but because he's demonstrated that he doesn't give up when other people would give up. So no defeat or humiliation stops Jim Carrey.
The people that make it are the people who just keep going. Keep going. And Rodney Dangerfield used to say to me, just make the, and you got to make the tank strong enough that nothing can stop it, man.
Percy Carey died in 1994, just as his son was becoming a movie star. At his funeral, Jim slipped that $10 million check he'd written in the Hollywood Hills into his dad's pocket.
Jim Carrey's next movie is the romantic comedy Me, Myself, and Irene. Maybe this one will earn him that elusive Oscar. That's our show for tonight. We'll be back in 2 weeks with the story of 3